Your mortgage broker is one of the most important members of your team of advisors, and for you to succeed as an investor long term, I think it's super important to have a great mortgage broker. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about, with Ads here, what makes a fantastic mortgage broker. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to find a great mortgage broker, what makes a great mortgage broker, and how to make your relationship with your mortgage broker as smooth as possible and a win-win relationship. So Ads is actually working with us at Pumped On Property in client management and property acquisition, but before we were lucky enough to work with him, Adsy was actually working for Mortgage Choice as a mortgage broker. So in today's video, we're going to sort of talk about some of the lessons that he's learned in terms of what makes a great mortgage broker. So from your perspective, dude, as one, that was pretty great. What's your thoughts?
G'day guys, Adam here. I guess really just starting it off, it's like identify what makes a great broker, and to me one of the major things at the moment in the current market is speed. Now it doesn't necessarily mean you want that speed as in they're just right there always going hard, smashing it out for you. It's more so with how long banks are tanking at the moment, you don't want to getting too caught up in the nitty gritty and going too much. Like, you obviously want some education from your broker, so there's some transparency there and you know what's going on, but you really want that process going through as quick as possible, because we know that banks can take up to 2 weeks just to assess applications. And that's if everything goes well. Like, with the rules changing, different requirements on documents, things can get a little bit longer than that as well. So it's really important to smash out that first part and make sure that they're, I guess, you really want them to be working on your best interest, which most of them obviously will be doing, but just making sure that they've got a clear, defined process, so you know what you have to give them for them to be able to move forward, and they make that easy for you. I've found that some brokers will get too caught up on that education side of thing, which is fantastic when you're learning, but as far as getting through that process, it can be a real stopper if you get too caught up on trying to learn it all before actually moving forward.
I think it's super important to just touch on that, because there's two things associated with speed from broking. There's obviously the broker knowing their stuff and getting shit done behind the scenes, and then there is you actually working in with that broker and getting that broker the right information at the right time. So my mortgage broker, Aaron, I'll basically get an email from him saying, Ben, can you give me these documents? That day I'll send all of those documents back if I have them, or request them from my accountant if I don't. And then he's in a position where he can go do the work on my behalf, which he's doing for free until the bank actually pays him after the property is settled, to make sure that everything goes smoothly. So, you know, if you want your broker to be acting for you with your best interests at heart, just get them the paperwork and make it easy for them so that they can make it easy for you. But just know that it does take a little bit longer at the moment than it has in the past. So obviously a broker that can get shit done is important, but another thing that we both think is important is availability, as well as having a really clear process. So do you just want to sort of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so availability can be quite important in different times throughout the process. I don't necessarily think they need to be able to answer every single question whenever you need them, whenever you want them, like especially on the education side of it. But sometimes when we're trying to get things through to get a result, it's important that they can tell you if a document you've sent through is wrong quickly, so you can action that at the time, rather than having to wait a few days just to hear back, oh no, we've gone through your documents, we need this. It can quickly drag out and turn into a back and forth that can delay the process.
That's such a good point, man, because so many of the brokers and bank managers that I worked with before Aaron were really freaking slow at that stuff, and lucky it was a lending environment where, you know, things were moving through the banking system really quickly. But at the moment, as you said, things can get caught on people's desks for 2 weeks before they're even picked up. So you know, only having a 21-day or a 28-day finance clause in a contract puts you at risk to be able to not settle on the property or not move forward on the property. And I think that availability of at least them having an internal rule where they do return your call or your email that business day if possible just keeps things moving.
Yeah, completely agree, and I think that's a good benchmark, somewhere in that 24-hour sort of time frame to be able to get back to you, answer your questions and keep that ball moving so things don't get stuck. And we all know what it's like when you're waiting on something from someone to get back to you, and if it takes longer than you expect, it kind of sets you up to be like, oh, it's not that important, and then you might take a little bit longer as well, and it snowballs out of control quite quickly. So
for sure,
I think it kind of draws back to having that clear, defined process by the broker, so you always know where you stand, and you always know what you have to do to keep them moving forward and keep the process going forward.
I heard a really good way of thinking about, the way that you should deal with your broker from a client recently, and he was an ex-Olympic swimmer for Australia, so all of his analogies were sporting, which I love, and he's kind of like, dealing with your mortgage broker is like playing tennis. If the ball's in your court, you should always hit it back to theirs, and if the ball's in their court, they should always be hitting it back to you, which means both parties are equally moving stuff off their desk at the request of the other one as quickly as possible to get the combined outcome. So let's talk about knowing your market, which I think is super important. We're not talking about property market, we're talking about the lending environment and the marketplace, and also having a range of products as opposed to just one product, which a lot of brokers are getting in trouble with at the moment for doing with this whole banking scandal thing.
Yeah, so when it comes to this side of thing, different brokerage, your firms or your overall companies, to say like if you're looking at a franchisee sort of setup like Mortgage Choice, they'll have set rules in place. So they've got a wide range of lenders available. So I think they're at the moment somewhere around 25 lenders, and to be honest, a lot of these sort of labels do it. That's what they have on offer, and it's the same with smaller companies as well. They might use a white label product which works somewhat similar to how Mortgage Choice or Aussie Home Loans works, where they'll still have a range of products. But what you want to identify is that, say for Mortgage Choice, they'll pay the same commission across the board no matter what lender you choose to go with. So they're working in your best interest, not necessarily their pocket or what's going to give them the best commission coming in. Now, that with some of the white label products or aggregators out there where they can use a different avenue, and it might be a bit more of a home setup, but they still have access to all these different lenders. But say lender A might be offering them 20% more commission than what lender B would. So there is that incentive for them to potentially put you with someone else rather than, say, making the process easier for you or getting you the best interest rate.
That's really important to know, because 20% might not seem like a lot, but if I'm a young salesperson looking to make money and I can make $4,000 with this lender on your $500K loan or $5,000 with this lender, I'm going to take you there, even if that lender, and I'm not saying I'm going to, I'm like, there's a lot of people that will take you there that may, just cost you a significant amount of money, like an extra 0.5% per year on a $500,000 loan. Can really, cut into your back pocket, and we're talking about thousands of bucks a year in extra interest that you're paying just because of the product. So, I love the way that you said Mortgage Choice does it. I wasn't even aware of that, how it's just blanket across the board. Everybody gets the same opportunity and the same rate. Therefore, the client gets the best product in the market. But just, that's a company policy. Not all companies have that policy. Not all salespeople or brokers within that company have that policy or that discipline as well.
Yeah.
So it's just important about protecting yourself, making sure the product suits you 100% and that has your best interest at heart. And if this broker comes to you with a product that you don't like, maybe it's worthwhile looking at alternative brokers and deciding if there's something better there for you. So
just sorry to jump in there, but it can get a little bit complicated too, trying to identify, okay, is my broker working in my best interest? Sorry.
Real hard.
And they might give you an interest rate which could be 0.5% higher than what you've seen advertised online. Don't take that as they're not working in your best interest, because just because someone's offering 3.5% somewhere, it doesn't mean that it's for your product. It doesn't mean it's necessary for investment. It doesn't mean it's going to suit your exact needs. And unfortunately, that's why brokers have a job. There is quite a range between what lenders will let you do on different interest rates and different products. So it doesn't necessarily always mean the best interest rate is going to be the best product for your situation, because it can create other headaches down the road as well.
That's such a good point, man, because I recently got a loan for a property that I'm building, and I went to ANZ Bank, and effectively Aaron, who's my broker, came to me with 3 different options. One was if myself and my wife were guaranteeing the bank loan, and the rate was this. If it was just my wife doing it, which was this. And if it was, us putting down a 10% deposit, which was this, versus a 20% deposit, which was this. And so, the combination of just the different variables there in terms of the way that the bank was assessing the loan in terms of their risk, meant something up to about a 0.5% difference in the interest rate with the same bank. So as Adam said, and using that example, it does fluctuate, and you hope that you've got an honest broker that's working on your best interests. So, let's talk about how to find a great mortgage broker. So, something that you mentioned before the video was just about testing a few different ones in the marketplace and seeing who you vibe with if you don't have a relationship with it all.
Yeah, so that's one way to go about it, and you find a lot of people will do that. So they'll start a relationship, they might not get the information they want to hear, they might not get basically just the knowledge, the information coming across or the results coming back isn't what they want. They'll move to the next broker, they'll try them, they'll move to the next broker, and that's fine to go through that process if you've got the time and that's you're inclined to do it that way. But just be aware that it is time intensive and it can get quite frustrating if things aren't turning out the way you want it to. So there are easier ways to find a good broker, and I guess to start that off, it's referrals. So if you know someone that rates that they've got a broker that's fantastic and they're really happy with the service they received, the outcome they got, then by all means start with someone or start with someone that someone else is willing to get out there and say, this guy's a great bloke, he was always there, he got it done quickly, he smashed it through and we got a great outcome. That's hard to go past, and I find that as being a good starting point. Now that's not necessarily mean it's going to work out for you, because your friend might be looking for a different style of broking or a different amount of information or whatever it is. It just might not be the right fit, but at least it's a better starting point than, say, just jumping on the internet and trying to go through all of the different information out there and all the people trying to sell you to use their services, because they might be excellent salesmen getting you through the front door, but that doesn't mean they're going to be an excellent broker at getting you a quick and excellent outcome at the end of the day.
I'm less interested personally in the flashiness up front, which I think is all just smoke and mirrors and bullshit, and way more interested in somebody who knows the market, who has integrity, and who can get me the result and has a strong process to make things move smoothly in the time frame that I need them to. So, if you don't have a broker, asking, someone that you trust or a number of people around you who they've used, who they trust, mum, dad, brothers, sisters, friends, work colleagues, you'll be bombarded with a number of different people. You can maybe sit down with them or give them a quick call over 10 minutes and just sort of screen them, ask some basic questions around some of the things that we've talked about in this video in terms of what makes a great broker, and then make a decision yourself. And the great thing is, if you're not enjoying the experience or they can't get the job done, you can potentially go and look at and work with somebody else. So I think I've used 9 or 10 mortgage brokers and bank managers to buy the 11 properties that I have personally in the last 8 years, 9 years type thing. So now that I've got Aaron, that's a really good fit for me. He just gets stuff done, but he isn't everybody's cup of tea either, because some people like talking a lot more than I do. I just like sort of getting shit done. So, I suppose these are just some of our ideas about what makes a great mortgage broker and how you can find one. What else have we written on the board there? I'm just trying to have a look. Obviously, you can jump on Google the old school way, and it's funny that I'm saying Google's the old school way when we're talking about referrals from family and friends.
Yeah.
But Google, the companies at the top of Google are pretty much either paying for the position or gaming it through SEO, so it doesn't mean that they're the best company in the industry or the best broker for you.
One thing to jump in with Google as well is you get in this position where you feel almost like, oh, maybe I should just do this myself, because there's a lot of websites out there now that will do that. Okay, we'll look through 30 different lenders and pick out the best loans for you. Now, my warning there is they don't go into enough detail. That's more of a sales pitch than actually giving you the information you need. It's get you through the door, and that's just another broker behind the scenes that will probably go through and finish the rest of that process.
100%. And I think it's super, super important to remember that. Like, the broker's free, so why wouldn't you outsource it to someone who's amazing as opposed to trying to figure it out yourself? And I am one of those people who likes to get my hands dirty and understand it, which is why in the past I did do a lot of the broking side of things directly through banks myself, but that only works to a point, and if you want to go to the next level and really achieve financial freedom, you're going to need someone that's been there and done it. So we hope you've got a little bit of value out of today's video and some different ideas. We're going to continue a series of videos around this broking space, and just really appreciate your time and attention on today's video. If there's any questions that you guys have that you'd like us to answer in another video, please hook them at the bottom of this one, or please put them in. And if you haven't already done it, please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. So have a great day, and thanks so much for your time and attention.
See you guys, really appreciate you listening in today.